Yesterday was a very difficult day for me. I had to make a decision. Do I want to move forward with talking about Nolan Wells on a day that this mother has to say her final goodbyes? I mean, her absolute final goodbyes when the casket closes for the last time, when your child is willed out of the church and you know that they will never ever, you come to that conclusion. You already know, but when you know this is like a final acceptance that my child will not be here anymore on this side, do I want to talk about what happened or where we are or the funeral on the day of the funeral? Do I want to wait? I made the decision to wait till today. As a parent who's experienced the loss of a child, it's a party you don't want to invite any parents to. So I decided to wait today to kind of get into the service and a little bit about what's going on. Okay. So before we do that, just remember everything I say on this show is strictly entertainment purposes. It's nothing more, nothing less. My opinion, strictly my opinion, and that is it. Now, what I don't understand is how anybody that's human can send this mother any letters wondering why she's being persistent to get answers on what happened to her child. I don't know what fool on this earth would even have the audacity to send these type letters to this family. Well, it was put out yesterday that this family had been receiving letters. It's been said before, but yesterday was just something different, right? And what I like about yesterday is Al Sharpton put some things to rest where people was insinuating he was getting money. That's why he was there, him and Bill Crump. And, that's the only reason they're involved, because it's high profile. And I get the high profile part of it and them being involved, but he put some things to rest yesterday. Also thanking Tyler Perry, Colin Kaepernick for doing the things they've done for the family. He just kind of summed everything up yesterday. And I think he did a good job on that eulogy. He spoke about, and I'm going to let you hear it, but I want to let you hear what he said about when the lights come on, the roaches scatter. Listen to this.
You're going to see roaches start running all over. It's time to cut the light on. It's time to get rid of our differences. It's time to let love rule over hate. It's time for a new Mississippi. It's time for a new coming together. It's time for us to stand together no matter who's wrong. God will make a way for his children. That's why God can use this occasion to make blacks and whites in a state with a bad history say in Nolan's name, we're going to come together and we're going to find out the truth here together. We're going to love together. We're going to make his name be the difference between those of the past. We're going to have some justice and some fairness no matter what it is. We're going to cut the light on. We're going to get rid of the roaches. Thank you and God bless.
Did he nail it? I think this was one of the best services I've heard that Al Sharpton has done. It was short, to the point, but it had a lot of meat into it. And I agree with him. I think the lights have been off, so all the roaches been crawling around in the background. But now they have finally laid Nolan, God bless his soul, to rest. Now it is time to turn the lights on for the family and get them the answers that they need so the roaches can start scrambling. All right, this is what I'm thinking. Things have been kind of like in the dark. We've been hearing little bits and pieces, right, about what was going on. But now everything has been finalized. I think they're going to get this train moving forward to get this family some of the answers they deserve with regards to why their 18-year-old son, promising child, who had a bright future ahead of him, had planned his life out to the point where he knew that he wanted 3 girls, his mother said. 3. He already had the names of them and all to now rest in his 18-year-old body. When you look at some of the videos, look at this video.
Nolan Xavier Wells, remember the name. Southwest Mississippi, he was playing the game. A wide receiver with a smile, chilling with his crew. He headed out to Horn Island under skies of blue. Independence Day, everyone's out on the same. 10 miles off the Gulf Coast, away from the land. Last seen in his swim trunks, talking near the shore. But when the boat headed back, he wasn't seen no more. Left his phone behind, how'd he get separated? The question started rising while his family waited. His mother on the timeline begging for a clue, while the community gathered.
This child was full of life. He loved life. And from what I understand and from what I've seen, it's not abnormal for him to be around water. We've seen several pictures with him being in water. Obviously, they stated he's been to Horn Island before. It's not anything that's abnormal for this area. It's something that they do in this area. It's hard for certain people to identify with it because you may not be from an area that's along the coastal area like that they travel to these remote islands, but it wasn't abnormal for them. And as you know, when you are fortunate enough to live in an area that's a little more affluent, or you're in areas that's a little more, demographics are a little more unbalanced, it's not abnormal for your children to have friends that are of different races. Okay, they can have a mixture of races, or they're going to have more dominant race than they are. So that's not abnormal. So what I hear that it's all race related, I don't want to rule that out because no one really knows everything that's going on. But I don't know if that's the reason why this initially happened. However, I do feel the cover up of it after, post of what happened to Nolan, after the fact, there is a racial mix in this. Because we all know in America, the life of a Black person, allegedly, is not worth as much as it is of a white person. That's natural. So when these people send these letters to this mother, this grieving mother, then they don't seem to get it because they're what, coming from a different perspective. They're like, why you want to like make these children, these white boys, seem as if they're in a place where they would hurt this Black kid? And he was a friend of theirs, right? Well, Mississippi has a history of not the best treatment of African Americans. It just is what it is. They don't see them the same. Mississippi has a history, a very dawning history, that is not that Black people are their priority. And so it's very strange to me why a human being does not understand why this lady is going through this the way that she is going through it, why she's approaching it the way she's approaching it. She want to know what happened to her child, her baby that she carried for 9 months, that she swore her life to protect, that she gave hugs that night, that she took to the doctor, that she went to the parent teachers conference, that she was there for graduation, that she hoped and had plans for him in the future. Now it's been taken away because he went to a trip with some so-called friends. Let me tell you something. I have experience with riptides, and they're trying to say maybe he got caught in the current or riptide or something like that. A riptide ain't nothing to play with. It will take you from the inland to way out before you know it. I had the experience myself with some kids I had taken to Jacksonville Beach. Yes, I did. And I told the kids, listen, y'all stay up in front. Do not get by. Go way out there. I do not need that. And next thing I know, they were drifting in different directions. Some went this way, some went that way. And I'm screaming, get y'all butts in here. Guess what? They couldn't because the rip current had came in. I mean, they were close to the shore and took them out so fast, you don't know what happened. To the point, lifeguards had to bring 2 of them in. They couldn't get out of it. A rip current is something serious when you in the beach waters and things like that. They exist and they will take you down. But my biggest thing, even in a situation like that, nobody's seen him struggling. You mean to tell me he went off to a destitute part of the island by himself, away from the crowd? Pictures, y'all seen the pictures. The pictures showed that it was a busy area. You seen it was quite a few kids out there on 4th of July. That was something that they did and something that they do in that area, right? Nobody heard The child yelling. Nobody noticed that he was fighting. Nobody heard, seen anything. His friends had already left. So you mean to tell me his friends left and took his phone but didn't take his body? That's the stupidest, most asinine thing I've ever heard. You're gonna take his phone and don't think, hey, even if I'm leaving early, he said he gonna stay behind. Let me make sure he get his phone. No, no, no. I'm gonna take his phone because he told me to keep it or he left it on the boat. He don't need his phone. You never thought about taking him his phone or calling his mom to let Nolan's mom know we have his phone. He left it on the boat. And when he opted to stay, we forgot to give it to him. So let me call his mom, his dad, somebody, sister, brother, cousin, and let them know, hey, Nolan left his phone on the boat. He wanted to stay back there with old girl, and we had to leave. We ended up having some boat trouble, and we didn't realize we had his phone. So I wanted to make sure I gave you his phone and also let you know what was going on. No, y'all don't do none of that. Not only do you not see him struggling in the water, nobody out there, it was like a couple hundred people looked like out there. Nobody seen the poor child drowning. He walked off to this area on the beach where nobody was there. He walked away from the crowd. He wanted to be with this girl by himself so much. He just left where everybody was at and went somewhere out there, got in the water, decided to swim. He was the only one in the water. He drowned. Nobody else drowned, though. The current only wanted to get Nolan. They didn't want to get nobody else. They just wanted to get Nolan. They didn't want to take nobody else down with them. That's baloney. Because if there was a rip current or anything of that nature, anything that was turning under that water, anybody in the vicinity was going to be pulled out, depending on how wide it was. Okay, so I don't believe that story. I believe something happened. Maybe it wasn't planned, but things went to the left. Then you got a friend saying that wasn't him. That wasn't Nolan that we hear on the tape fussing about his phone, but then his phone happened to leave with the friends. It happened to be somebody was arguing about a phone. His friend came on and said, no, that wasn't Nolan, that was me. But then Nolan's phone ends up separating from him, not his friend. It's just so many questions about this case. And my biggest thing is that I think Ben Crump, now that we have put Nolan's body to rest, I mean, the mother could not even open the casket and let the world say goodbye. It had to be from the pictures and everything. Because his body, there was someone on the Nancy Grace show, and he was talking about the marine life and being out the hot water and being out there so many days, the decomposition of the body. Sometimes it confuses what you can kind of get confused on what things did actually happen to the body, because you have marine life that can get to it, which makes sense. You're in the ocean. He can get entangled in things. It was hot, so the rate of decomposition increases. He's in the water, they get bloated. It's a lot of things. If they were drinking, the alcohol usage and the water in the lungs can sometimes be confused. And Nancy asked him about testing the lungs and what's in the lungs. There are a lot of things that could interfere with the direct results of what really happened to him, is what is being laid out. So it just seems like it's going to be an uphill battle for this family in order to get the rest and comfort that they need to put this situation to rest. But Ben Crump said it best. Take a listen.
Now let's say it so his family will know they are not alone. Justice for Nolan Wells. Thank you. I stand before you with a plea for justice. I'm so grateful that Reverend Al Sharpton, America's civil rights leader, did not think it robbery to stand with Christine and Elmo and all of their family, to let them know that despite what some people may say or do that is so insensitive, so disrespectful, so inhumane, while you all are grieving the worst loss that any parent could have, that people from New York, people from Los Angeles, people from Chicago, Detroit, London, Paris, all over the world has been calling Nolan Wells' name. Justice for Nolan Wells. I am so very grateful, Reverend Al, Reverend Toon, that we have a great team of lawyers and investigators, because it's always a team effort. As I heard Elmo often talk about, T.O., Nolan was a great teammate. And everybody who's ever played on a team and who has been successful in their endeavor understands that you're only as good as your teammates are. So I want to just acknowledge Attorney Lisa Park, Attorney Eric Hertz, Attorney Gary Buffkin, Attorney Carlos Moore, Attorney Camila Moore, and all those great paralegals and investigators and activists. All the people who are encouraging people to call and give us information so we can get to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. We want to thank you all. It matters. It matters. We're on a ferocious search for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And so it is very important that you all understand our legal team. And we have these great co-counsels, but Reverend Al, we're all co-counsels. Anybody who's seeking the truth for what happened to Nolan Wells, I want you all to know that you all are our co-counsels. Amen? Y'all all our co-counsels. And on this legal team, we stand for truth, no matter who it implicates or exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or who it acquits. We stand for transparency, because we don't need law enforcement to narrate, because we want transparency, because we can see. We don't need them to tell us what they think. And that's why we need all of you to encourage people who were on Horn Island on July 4th. If you took a picture, if you have a video, if you have Snapchat, if you have anything, we are pleading on behalf of Elmo and especially on behalf of Christine. As she said, any parent would want the answers as to what happened to their child. They went out on the boat came back, and Nolan washed up on the shore 2 days later dead. Wouldn't you want answers? Wouldn't you want transparency? Wouldn't you want the truth? Wouldn't you want justice? I mean, is that so much to ask?
Now it's time, like Al Sharpton said, to turn the lights on. Because the lights been dim. They ain't been all the way off, but they've been real dim because they were waiting to get the independent autopsy back. This is another thing that's real curious. Okay, if you are a coroner for that county or whatever, why haven't you released your report yet? Why are you waiting to find out what the independent autopsy is going to say? Why do you even care? You should stand behind what you are putting out. Why do you need to base what you put out on what the independent autopsy report comes in as? Unless you're trying to cover up and you don't want to seem like you're lying or covering up something. That is why you're not saying anything and haven't put it out yet. It seems real peculiar to me that nobody has put out any information on the cause of death or what they think the cause of death is, but they're all waiting on the independent autopsy to come in. Thanks to Kaepernick. I'm so thankful that he stepped up to pay for this for the family. And then Tyler Perry paid for the funeral. And not only did Tyler Perry do that, him and Al Sharpton are putting up $100,000 to anyone that can help them find out information on what happened, because for some reason 200 people out there and nobody has said anything. Well, at least we don't know of anyone that said anything. I'm sure they've been speaking with the police department and giving them some information, but the story that they came up with and coming up with, it's just too many holes in it. There's too many holes. And something in the Mississippi muddy waters stink. And I think it's going to start coming up because, like my grandfather say, together we stand, divided we fall, baby. And those roaches are getting ready to spread, as Al Sharpton said. We're going to keep the family in prayer, because until this mother gets answers and could close her eyes at night and finally get a good night's sleep, she ain't going to rest until she get answers on what happened to her 18-year-old son that was in the prime of his life and getting ready to go off to football camp. But instead of going off to football camp, we have laid him to rest. That is an absolute ridiculous situation. And I know it's happened many times. I know, because I am a witness. But when you don't have any answers and your child is gone, you want to know why they're gone. He wasn't sickly, he wasn't injured, and he wasn't hurt the last time she seen him when he left home. He was supposed to be back home like the other 3 friends. And you come at with his cell phone and you got an old lazy, sorry excuse like that. Come again. And on top of that, why does the GPS show the boat going back and forth out that way more than one time, or at least another time? Why? Explain why you had to go back out there. Why? Nobody even mentioned. If it had not been for the mother's friend that called United States Cajun Navy, Brian, I looked at TMC in the know with Brian Buha. And he had Brian Thrasher on the show. And Brian Thrasher is the VP of the United States Cajun Navy. And he was part of the rescue team that helped try to locate the body of Nolan, right? And he was there when Nolan came up out the water. He was up in the air though. And he said he couldn't see the visual of the trauma or anything because Nolan was on his stomach. So he couldn't give any attestment to the condition of that part of it, but he was there. He could see him coming up out of the water. But the regular police officers were there at the time on the boat, and they were handling it. But he could see when they pulled them up and out of there. So yeah, it's just a lot of things. You know, people do drown in waters. We understand. But this situation don't sound like the typical drown. Not one I've ever heard of. So like I say, we are praying for answers, and we're keeping our fingers crossed with the help of the Lord that this mother can lay her head down and get some rest. So like, share, and subscribe to my channel.